shot. Tribes always scavenging for scrap, and the yard has plenty to go around. But they should have stuck to looting instead of playing around with sprockets. Bomber Bonkers busy ram-banging the door. This is your chance. Let's see. Don't flinch away from this. It's your moment. You need to focus. Yes, you can do anything. The sky's the limit. Now, let's take this back to Earth. Wow, you really took that all the way down to the end, in flames. Stay away from that biohazard. You'll want to wash yourself off for a month. It's a wonder some of these up and downs still work. Guess they built machines better in the past. The spent nuclear fuel that Toxanol dumped in the surf had detrimental effects on the marine habitats, while the overflowing landfills contaminated the groundwater. Combined, this sent their world hurtling on an inevitable road to ruin. I need to brush up on my Wando, but I have a feeling he believes it was you that caused the bang at the yard. Oh, and he says he knows you. You used to call him Gizmo. He gave you the oil-greased hands when he taught you how to upcycle. Gizmo remembers you as a nice kidling, and he can still sense the warmth of your good heart. But Gizmo says how you experience a memory can be different. You know the story, but sometimes the truth it brings is personal. It carries so much hate, and its insatiable hunger has only increased over the years since it claimed revenge on your parents. Gizmo says he also has re-memories from the long gone, but unlike you, he doesn't think of the past, for it's gone. He understands history made Lupa-Lupin a big part of your past, your present, and soon, your future. He says you should know that what's meant to be will always find a way, but history shouldn't consume you. Gizmo understands you still have strong feelings, but urges you to keep them under control. You've witnessed firsthand what it'll lead to.
Now you're getting into the dark groove.
That's not a groove, it's a rut.
And what's wrong with ruts? I love ruts.
Groove, rut, whatever, you can still escape it.
Escape it? No way. Enjoy it.
Would like to know if you ever doubt the choices you made on the path that brought you to this point. Would you have been happier going in a different direction? Supposes that's all any of us can do. Hard to believe the world is actually going to survive. Just seemed impossible till now. Grateful to you for coming back and doing your best to change things. You were the only chance they had. Wonders if you liked working with the Myriad. They always seemed so centered and so seeking. Figures everyone does. They seem unusually dedicated to finding them. But that Gizmo says it's taken a long time to bring the past up to the present, and where you go from here is up to you. You need to set the past aside, at least for now. He can't leave the underyard as he has no protection against the vacuum in the dead zone. So you need to salvage scrap to upcycle the Mekton, starting with the old crate outside. You should return when you've retrieved the scrap. There's no time to waste if you... It's the part of the land that suffered most from the apocalypse. It's deprived of oxygen, making it next to impossible for anything but creatures that were most contorted by the contamination. Someone has to end this plague before it's too late. You need to line up the switches so they match. Just a few moves left. Make them count. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. You need to line up the switches so they match. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. You need to line up the switches so they match. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. You need to line up the switches so they match. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. You need to line up the switches so they match. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. You need to line up the switches so they match. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. Gonna need a key of some kind. Nothing's more important right now than this. You need to line up the switches so they match. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. You need to line up the switches so they match. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. Someone locked it solid. You need to line up the switches so they match. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. You need to line up the switches so they match. Bristles like the hair of one electrified. Gizmo wants to help if he can. Says you... There's short of breath and death to this zone. Better take care. He who half breathes, half lives. This is turning out to be quite an expedition. That's the leftover you're looking for. Whoa, smell that? Biohazard nearby. Pounding your chest won't help. Wild headgear. Are your lungs aching? He says that's enough to get the Mekton functional. You'll have an engine, a fuel soaker, a gun, and a gathering net, but no armor, nor enough oxygen supply. He made a suction device so the Mekton can use the black tar as an instant refuel. You can also use it to clear oily goo puddles, so you can pass and access hard-to-get-to areas. He's been working on another project for the Mekton, a cannon, but it needs ammunition, and by that he means the scripts. He says if they're trained right, they'll turn into a distraction for the Jumbo Puff. The best way to find scripts is to go talk to Moog. He knows the ins and outs of every breathing thing left alive after the apocalypse. Unfortunately, this means you'll have to venture farther out into the dead zone than Moog's camp on the steep depot. Once you find Moog, he'll be able to give you directions to where you'll find scripts. Gizmo thinks he's a little peculiar, but very knowledgeable. He has the ins and outs of all monster and creature whereabouts. The stars never give enough light. The grease monkey's Mekton is built sturdy, just like himself. Can you imagine how this place used to look before the dead oil flood? Might want to hold your breath before you head any further. You're about to witness the breathtaking vistas of what's known as the Dead Zone. Your lungs aren't built for this. Leave that scrap behind. Imagine that. You could just go to a place like this to get a proper meal back in the old world. New days always start with food. Killed that one. Making great progress. Dead on. Are you sure you're ready for this mech, Tom? Can't rely on technology all the time. That over there is Steepo Depot, the cliffside that Moog hangs on to. Hand up, further you go.
Inmo. Diava.
This one's impressed to see you out here. He figured you'd be dead by now. Not many are as tough and clever as you must be. Says he's a monster haunter. The best you'll ever see. Moog says that all your power doesn't do you a bit of good if you're not willing to pull the trigger when the time comes. Choosing what to kill and what to spare are the most important decisions you'll make. You might have a steady aim, but you need to be sure that you pick your targets with care. It's hard to make those life or death decisions for others, but someone's got to do it. Otherwise, they'll do it themselves, and you know they'll miss. When it comes to monsters, he mostly picks who dies. Says it's wild that the world seems to be coming back, but he wonders why you work so hard to keep things alive. Bullets help thin the herd instead. Says you should give up on working with the stubborn myriad. He keeps trying to put out that... He's afraid you're just as stubborn as them. But enough of that, right? He says the wildlife, nature, has changed and turned against us. Instincts of survival took over when the world changed. He's not sure about their veggie diet anymore, and if it's changed, who knows what it's done with the chemical composition of their body output. Right now, though, he feels he's come to a point where he's got a pretty clear idea on the whereabouts of monsters, both tall and short. Thinks that it all hangs on the tree of life. When it started to fail, everything changed. Moog says you must learn to walk before you can run. It takes practice before you can call yourself a monster. Fortunately for you, he can help. He understands you need to start off with something strong. There's no better place to start than a SKRAP cave. Hunting down a couple of these little critters for yourself should keep you on your toes. Says you stick to the haunting and shots present themselves later. Let's see. Nothing throws shade like a forest full of trees. Nice work.